This is Lewis Hart for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store. Always delighted to be joined with Adam Morallee here at the press conference of Magnificent 7. Soloman Dacres is back out in a rematch against Michael Webster. Not really what was planned, but it just came about and it sort of made sense. I suppose, yeah, looking forward to Sol being back out there after last fight against Michael Webster, obviously in November.
Yeah, I mean, look, we had that Adelaide fight planned. We had it planned for March, and then Adelaide dropped out. Now we've had it planned for July, and he dropped out again, so it's disappointing. But Sol's got to move on with his career, and he wants to get that British title. That's what our focus is on. So he needs to defend the English to get that. And Michael Webster was an obvious choice when Adelaide dropped out.
When you saw Adelaide dropped out again, second time now, how frustrating was that to see?
It's really frustrating, but David's a good guy, and you know, we're not saying he pulled out without good reason. It's just one of those things that happens in boxing, and I think maybe they're destined not to meet. You know, maybe their paths aren't supposed to meet, but Sol's got his path, and that's what we've got to focus on, and his path is the English title and the British title, and that's why we're back with Michael Webster.
People will take a lot from that first Webster fight. I think Sol will admit that it wasn't his best performance, and there was sort of question marks over who really won the fight. I feel like he's got a lot more to prove in this fight, and I suppose remove any doubt that he could have had previously.
Look, I want Sol to come out of this fight and people to recognise him as a legitimate contender in the British title scene. You know, you have the four of them. You have Adelaide, you have Dacres, Wardley, Clark. Those four, and I think maybe David will come again, but he had his shot against Wardley, didn't win. Wardley, Clark, terrific fight. Those two are there, but Sol's going to break into that. And I think it was an underwhelming performance against Michael Webster, but Sol was probably 15 to 20 pounds too heavy. So when he comes into this fight, you'll see him. He was 246 for the last fight. Should be a lot lighter. And I think you're going to see a much, much better performance.
Do you think the idea is after this, it is ideally the winner of Wardley Clark? Do you think he's deserving of that?
Absolutely. I mean, look, he's been the English title holder since he beat Rob Ishmael back in, I think, April 23.
I would say, I think earlier than that, February 23, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
March 23. So he will have been in position as the English title holder for 16 months. So we're knocking on that door. Obviously, the board have ordered Clark Wardley. And I think it will take place October time, maybe. So straight after that.
Absolutely, did want to move on. After a couple of weeks ago's destructive performance against Alan Babbage, Johnny Fisher's back out in August 24th. I don't think many people expected that. Was that always the plan?
It wasn't always the plan, but Johnny has had around 30 seconds this entire year. So we want Johnny to be active. Activity's key. Straight after, Eddie came to us and said, Johnny, want to come out again? Here's a spot for him. We did it, and we're really close to securing an opponent. A great opponent for Johnny to go more rounds, actually.
There's an opponent that a lot of people are talking about, and ideally I don't think it's going to be, it's not next. But I think maybe down the line is obviously Dave Allen was spoke about. I've done an interview with Dave Allen about sort of earlier in this week, and he was pretty open to the fight, but he was like, listen, I need a little bit more time. Do you think you're willing to entertain that fight between the two?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, Johnny's made no secret of the fact that he wants to go English title, British title, kind of where Sol is, just like a few months behind. I think, well, of course, I think that Dave Allen fight's a good fight. I mean, I spoke to Matchroom about it at the start of the year, actually, after Bezos, and they were like, yeah, Dave Allen needs a couple fights to get in shape. I don't know whether Dave's always going to need a couple fights. It's one of those things where he thinks, I'm a couple fights off Johnny Fisher. I don't know if he seriously wants to take the fight or not, but it doesn't really matter. I think Dave Allen's been a great servant to British boxing. I think it's a great fight if we can make it. But if not, be someone else. Could be Adelaide. Could be anyone for that English title once Sol moves on from it.
For sure. Moving on, Junaid Bostan ordered to fight Ishmael Davis for the English title after Lee Cutler vacated. Any surprise that Cutler vacated?
Not surprised that Cutler vacated from a management decision. I think you look at Junaid, he's up and coming, and they probably thought they'd lose the fight. That's why they'd vacate at that stage. And I think he's in Bournemouth. He's a good ticket seller. It doesn't make sense to have a loss on his record this time in his career, so I understand why he vacated.
And as for the Ishmael Davis fight, it's pretty clear Junaid and him are very good friends. Done dozens of rounds together, sparring. So I think it's a bit of a surprise at two, but in Ishmael's nature and in Junaid's nature, saying no really ain't an option for them. So ideally, is that next?
Look, it's been ordered, and obviously I'm very close with Lee Eaton and Sonny Edwards, who look after Ishmael. We've been talking. I think both camps feel it's a fight that could do with marinating a bit longer. They're both excellent boxers. I'm Junaid's manager. I see him winning the fight. Lee sees Ish winning the fight. But it's a great fight. And I understand where Eddie's coming from, saying that's a great fight that the public should see, and they should. As a manager, do I think it's the right fight to take now? I mean, Junaid wants it, is the thing. Neither Junaid or Ish will take a backward step. Neither of them will say, I don't want to take this fight. So, at the moment, it's going ahead. It should go, I mean, it's a fight that deserves a certain amount of money, I believe. But yeah, at the moment it's going ahead.
I'm sure it may be something that Junaid isn't too bothered about, but when you look at it from a managerial point of view, Ishmael Davies is very close to Sonny Edwards, stablemates, and you know you've got a great relationship with Grant Smith. Do you understand? Like, is there worries on your part that there's a conflict of interest? You know, Sonny's going to know what Junaid's doing training. Like, is there a bit of a worry?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think everyone's a professional here. I think Sonny, I mean, look, if they do fight each other and, you know, Junaid's going to be in camp soon, then yeah, I'm sure while Junaid's sparring, we wouldn't want Sonny there. Yeah. But I don't think there's a conflict of interest at professional people. And yeah, it does give it some added spice. It does give it some added spice. I think Junaid and Sonny even discussed it the other day. You know, they're on good talking terms. They were chatting about the fight the other day, and you know, at the end of the day, these people get paid to fight. That's the point. You know, it's not about those kind of loyalties. And if the money's right, this fight's going to happen.
And that fight ideally would land on September 28th on the Dalton Smith Field?
That's my understanding. Nothing's been confirmed. But it's a great fight that, from a managerial perspective, I would like it to be later on in Junaid's career. He's an absolute superstar. He's one of Matchroom's top prospects, and I'm sure everyone, you know, it's about risk-reward. Yeah. This business is about risk-reward, and it's quite a risky fight.
Completely fair enough. I will catch up with you next week, but I think it's only right to touch on next week's event going on at the O2. Your man Joe Joyce taking on Derek Chisora. Yeah, I mean, an interesting build-up. We had a little bit of a face-off come out yesterday of Joe not being too happy with Chisora wagging his finger at him. Yeah, a great fight at the O2 next Saturday.
Yeah, look, I think it's really going to build up next week. They're two very recognisable people, two big faces of British boxing, Joyce and Chisora, and I think probably this time next week there'll be a real big buzz around the fight. It's a bit of a crossroads fight for both of them. I think Joe's going to show the world his Parker form, show just, you know, exactly how spiteful he can be. I've watched him in sparring recently. He's back to being very spiteful, and I think he's going to put in a terrific performance. But it is, I think, a little bit lose-lose for Joe. He deals with Chisora early. Everyone says Chisora's finished. He doesn't deal with Chisora early enough. Joe won't get any credit. So we understand that, but we've got very, very clear plans here. Win this fight and move on to somewhere like Saudi.
Do have to ask about a video that surfaced on Sunday. A very brave Deliveroo driver seemed to start on Chisora, and Chisora obviously repeated his sort of any human mod, let alone being a fighter, and stick the nut on him. Seeing that, was there any worries from you?
Yeah, look, as I said when someone else asked me that question, I think you have to be careful deriving things from short social media clips. You don't know exactly what happened there. Yeah. I saw it, I thought it was a little bit of kind of handbags. I didn't really read too much into it. Derek is a bit of a character. I don't think it will have any effect on the fight.
Completely fair enough. Adam, as always, a pleasure talking to you, mate. Cheers. All the best this week and all the best next week, mate. Top man as always. Thank you.